Hello,
everyone. Hey.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to Design Unfiltered number, I don't
I
know,
stopped counting.
215. I mean, I just feel like I've been doing this for so long. Side note, I actually saw a little reel this morning that said that most podcasts never make it past the third episode.
Okay.
Like most of them, and then like most after that, and then like 99% of them fall off after like 10 episodes. So we're doing good. I think we have like 25, 30 episodes.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
I know.
Right.
Season 3. We're in season 3.
I know.
Yeah.
And we're so excited for our special guest, Mahara O'Brien, with us today. Yay. So we're going to give the proper intro in her bio a little bit later after people have like settled in and grab your coffee, get a comfy chair, pet your dog, pet your cat, and get settled. So while everybody is coming online, if people want to say like where they're calling in from, we always love to start off with that. So just make yourself known, say hi, join the chat. And just for people that are new, welcome to our live stream in the Design Unfiltered community. And Design Unfiltered is me, Joanne Weaver, Jared Tredly, and Erica Fortgang. We are 3 product design recruiters, long-standing, very seasoned, very, very good.
Very long. Longer than 2.
And we're all based in New York, the New York area. Erica and I are independent, and then Jared has joined Shopify about 6 months ago.
Yeah. Well, apparently 8.
Oh, 8 months?
I don't know.
I haven't counted. Erica pinged me.
I was randomly on your page yesterday and it was like 8 months. And I was like, well, is that, I mean, probably, I don't know. It just flew by.
Wow.
It is.
Maybe it's 7 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Still very much in that design space, 100%, all day, every day. Loving it.
Yep. And I have known, well, I'll say more in the intro, the proper intro, but Mehera and I go back at least to 2013 because we were trying to figure out the other day, like, when did we actually meet? Like, it feels like forever.
Exactly. It's been a long time.
And so I went back in my emails before our session just to see, like, how far it went back. And there was some emails from 2013, although I think it predates that too. Yeah. But there was some stuff from 2013. And we were talking about like a show I was doing. Like I just released an album back then. This is like ancient history. Like this is like just from my music career so long ago. And you're just like, where's your show?
I was like, wait, you sing? And like, for those that don't know, Joanne is an amazing recruiter, but she's an amazing singer. And I was just like, you're good at 2 amazing? Like I was blown away. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. But yeah, but I love to see that. I was like, man, she's just been a supporter like since day one. So it's been so lovely. So awesome.
Good people.
Yeah. Oh, look, we got some peeps coming online. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Oh, I see so many friends joining. Thanks, guys.
Oh, yay.
Like Houston, Pittsburgh.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Love it.
Diversified today.
Carlsbad. Thanks, Ryan.
Hey, California.
Salt Lake City.
Amsterdam. Hey, Peter.
Hey, Rachel.
Ooh, what are you cooking?
Rachel's a longtime friend of mine. We met working in London years ago.
In London?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
She's now running the
Peter
design at University of Illinois, which is an amazing program. Yeah.
Oh, the IDIIT? Or
the Siebel Center for Design. It's you guys should have her on. She can tell you all about it.
Oh, hey. All right. Reach out to us. Okay. Great. Brian Lewis, Atlanta. Oh, Brad Kelly. Look at all the love you got in the room. So nice.
This is a good diversified, like different corners of the map, which I like.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Yay.
And Rebecca, my business partner, is going to hop online too. She definitely wanted to see you. So cool. All right. So I'm going to jump into the intro so we can get started.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So I've got Mehera's official bio that I'll read in a moment, but I want to start with a personal note and say Mehera is a ray of light. I just adore her. I have never worn this sweatshirt for Design Unfiltered ever. but I was moved to wear it today because I'm like, this just feels like Mehera. Like,
That is one of my favorite colors.
oh, is
Same.
it?
Yes, I love it. Yuko, my design partner, would be like, that's so on brand.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I totally felt it. That's amazing. So I always think of you as being like, whatever room you walk into, it's going to be that much brighter. And whatever conversation you're a part of, it's going to be that much more lively and just smarter.
Spicy.
And more thoughtful. Yep. I love that you're a little sassy. Like you always say what's on your mind.
This is true. It's gotten me in trouble at times.
Yeah, well, right. I'm sure. But why live a safe life, right? We only get one time to do it. And, but despite that, but you're always so kind and so loving. And you've been such a supporter of my music, as we talked about earlier, but also just of me and Rebecca's business. And, you recommended us to a really big client last year. And because of your recommendation, it's like when Mehera says, trust me, like you're going to like this, or this is going to be good for you, like people take her advice very much to heart. So we really, really appreciate you being such an incredible support to our business through the years. But last year too. So that's my personal intro. And then here is her official intro. So Mahara O'Brien is the founder and chief creative of Mission Objective Inc. So her new company, woohoo! It's a product design and innovation studio launched last fall. A digital design veteran with 25 years of experience. So she's seen some things. Mehera has led design teams in the US, Europe, and Africa for a global roster of clients that include Fortune 100s and 500s, startups, governments, and nonprofits. Prior to Mission Objective, she was hired to establish and lead the New York studio for Argo Design, a studio founded by former Frog Design Chief Creative Officer Mark Rolston. And she was there for nearly 7 years. By the way, I can't believe it's been 7 years since then, because I remember you and I having coffee chats in Dumbo, yes, right when that was starting to take root. So that's crazy. Yeah. And then Mehera has also previously held design leadership positions at Method, Dahlberg Design, and AKQA. So very top-rated agencies. Very impressive. She strives to deliver experiences that are beautiful and easy to use, but she's equally mindful of an organization's ability to launch and sustain a new product or service. Her team combines strategy and design to deliver solutions built for impact in the real world. Her work has won numerous design awards and has been featured in publications including Fast Company, Communication Arts, and the University of Texas Journal of Design and Creative Technologies. She holds a degree from Cornell University and serves as a guest lecturer, speaker, and mentor to aspiring designers around the world. Welcome to Design Unfiltered, Mehera.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's my honor to be here. And thanks to all of my friends from all over the world who are logging on. I see your names and awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
So cool. So cool. So let's start with the current snapshot of the now. So you've obviously you've had a very long, illustrious career at some top-rated agencies, working with, very high-level people. Now you're putting out your own shingle, Mission Objective Inc. So tell us a little bit about Mission Objective and what your objective is, what you're doing.
I mean, the goal of Mission Objective is to run an independent, small-scale studio to do innovation projects. We specifically focus on product design and the things around product design. So we also do branding, motion graphics, research strategy, everything that kind of enables a product to be successful. And we say innovation because a lot of times we're hired to invent something new or define the next evolution of something that exists, as opposed to coming in to perform maintenance or small incremental changes. We have that ability, but it's not usually why you would bring in an external agency.
Right. So it's the thought leadership, the strategy, the things that are going to really make the business successful.
Yeah. And a lot of times in organization, it takes a lot of work to maintain a product or service and keep up with it and evolve it and continue to keep its user base like interested and loyal and growing with the product or service. And so when you're in that mindset of maintaining something, it can be hard to think about what else it could be. And so I think bringing in an outside team that doesn't necessarily know the nuts and bolts of keeping the lights on every day can bring in some fresh thinking. We work with a lot of different clients in a lot of different industries. So we're also able to pull on kind of trends and thinking that we're seeing in other places, and then partner with a client team that has the expertise in their organization, their brand, their users, et cetera, to then define where we're going to go with that product.
Cool. Got it. So it sounds like you work across multiple industries. I think we talked about AI the other day. So I think you have like an AI stealth client.
Everyone's talking about AI these days. Yeah. But yeah, at the moment, we're juggling 4 active projects. One of them, we're doing branding for an AI company that's in stealth mode. They're building AI software, really excited. We're excited to work with them on their branding, and they actually founded their company the same month we did. So we're only like a step ahead with our branding than they are. And they were just like, you guys really understand sort of where we're at financially, but also emotionally. So we're doing some branding for them. We're working with a couple of social impact organizations, one in climate change, one in food security. They actually run food pantries here in New York City, which is, that was our first project. So we're really honored to have kind of started our company with a project that gives back to our local community. And we're also working with a very well-known Fortune 100 company on experience strategy. So lots of different stuff going on. It's exciting.
I love that. It covers the waterfront. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. So you've had this, you were at Argo for 7 years. And I think this is something that maybe a lot of our viewers or, community can relate to in terms of like, when do you know when it's the right time, right? Like you had been kind of in-house at agencies, like you hadn't been independent yet. What is the right time? Like when people like, just to kind of put this in the users' minds, like the community's minds, like if they're in a job, they're, in-house or at an agency and they're like, I like the idea of going independent. Like, what is that landscape like? Like we talked a little bit about like fractional design and like people kind of setting up their own shingle in various ways. And then how do you know when it's the right time? Like, how did you know when it's the right time? What advice could you give to people?
I got a short answer and a long answer. Maybe I'll start with the short answer. We can get into the long answer. And if it gets if we go down a weird rabbit hole, just like snap me back. But the short answer is I loved Argo. I loved Mark Rolston. I still call him boss whenever we talk.
I love that.
Absolutely adore him. But Argo was acquired by a technology company and they moved towards integration last year. Mark had already left the company. And I just didn't necessarily see a vision for design from that company. I felt that they didn't really understand how to manage the culture of creativity, and they weren't asking Argo leadership to be a part of that discussion. So I just thought it's time to go. I was hired to establish the New York studio, and I ran the studio for nearly 7 years. And so when you're leading a group of people, all of whom you have been a part of hiring, I think you have a responsibility to show up, right? To show up with a belief in the company. And then I couldn't really get behind it. So I just thought it would be more elegant to move on. And then as I looked around the market and thought, where might I want to work and apply? I didn't really see anything. And that's not to say that there aren't great design firms out there. There are many amazing boutique independent design firms, but like they already have a chief creative. So it's like they didn't need a second one. And I spoke to a lot of friends at a lot of companies who kind of hung up their own shingle. And I expected people to maybe dissuade me or to have a bit of an attitude of like, oh, great, somebody else, there's like yet another person to compete with. And the sentiment was more like, welcome to the resistance. That kind of gets to the larger context, which is like for the past, 15 years or so, design agencies have gone through a lot of mergers and acquisitions by mostly technology, management consulting, or like private equity firms. And like, if we go way, way back, like 25 years ago, there weren't as many like in-house jobs for digital design, right? Digital was so new that you didn't really work in-house unless you were at like a big technology company, like Yahoo in the day had a really great like product design team. A friend of mine worked on like Yahoo Mail back in the day. But unless you were working in like a big Silicon Valley kind of product company, as we refer to it now, there weren't as many in-house design jobs for digital, and they were a lot less prestigious than they are now. It was kind of like the best jobs for agency side. And as all of the sort of big tech firms started making big investments in design alongside engineering, a lot of in-house jobs popped up and became very coveted and very prestigious. And then I think more traditional companies like followed suit. And so Joanne, the client that we were both working with, they're nearly 200 years old and they're now establishing an in-house design team. So it's like really, really exciting for such a heritage brand in a really traditional category. But again, 25 years ago, 15 years ago, those weren't like the highly covetable design jobs. So as an agency side person, what we've really seen are a ton of mergers and acquisitions. So some of the best, most prestigious sort of design studios, design consultancies, agencies, whatever label you want to put on it, have been kind of folded up into a handful of holding companies. This is where I need to be like delicate. So
let it rip, unfiltered.
Those companies provide a lot of jobs to a lot of friends. And I have many friends that are really grateful for those jobs. Like they've got kids, they've got bills to pay. If they're on a really great project with a great team, they can kind of ignore the corporate entity that they work within. But I very rarely hear my friends say, "Oh my God, I love this job." They're like, it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Not exactly a ringing endorsement, but like,
yeah. Okay. And even hearing it's not as bad as I thought it would be is rare. More typically, it's they're like I'm glad I have a paycheck, right? Because the design market is really difficult right now. And so since the pandemic, things have been also particularly topsy-turvy. I think like in 2022, we started seeing a ton of layoffs happening. And we haven't really recovered from that. A lot of mergers and acquisitions. And so if you're in an agency environment and you want to stay that way, it's almost like which holding company do you want to work for? And if you don't want to work for a holding company, you've really got to find a smaller independent studio. And at my level of seniority, it's hard to do that. My design partner and I, we left Argo at the same time independently. We made that decision for ourselves independently, and we're kind of both surprised that the other one came to the same conclusion. So we were like, let's start a firm.
Let's do it. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good timing.
I mean, I have to say the leadership experience I gained at Argo, especially working so closely with Mark for so many years, really gave me the confidence to do it. Like prior to that role, I had freelanced before years ago. I was living in Africa and it made it a little hard to like join a design firm. And so I freelanced, really, I only freelanced for like maybe two companies. It was more like being full-time, but part-time. Like when I would work for those companies, I would only work for two, and I would work on projects full-time, but I might work for 2 months and then be off for a month, that kind of thing. But freelancing is different than having your own studio, because with freelancing, you're kind of I tended to get hired by a design agency. I wasn't hired directly by the client who was paying for the project. I had to worry about my own income and invoicing and health insurance and whatnot, but I wasn't responsible for anybody else's. And now I am. So it's the
business owner.
Yeah, the pressure is a little different, but I'm ready for it. I'm excited.
Love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Just to riff off what you're sort of getting at, Joanne, with like knowing it's the right time. For yourself, Mehera, it was the right time to start a business, start a firm, and build your company. But I feel like I'm hearing more and more out there too. If you're a designer that's maybe not doing their best work,
Yeah.
which is potentially a path you could have ended up down,
Yeah.
possibly. If you're not doing your best work and continually to sharpen your skills or just push yourself further, you're not in a great place. It's not a very good time to be maybe idle or stagnant in your career and in your growth, because I think design is changing very fast.
Yeah.
How designers do design, what brands want from their designers, and what you can deliver back. All of that is changing so fast that if you are in a place where you're being a bit stagnant, you might not know it now, but it's going to hurt later, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had a lot of courage to kick this thing off, but for any designer, it sometimes feels easier to just stay where you are than go to all the efforts of getting that next thing.
Sure.
But that effort might be better placed now than it could be later, when you have potentially fallen further behind by not keeping up with the changes that are happening.
Yeah. I mean, I've always told people, like earlier career, younger designers who've asked for advice, I've always said, I think you should be very, very clear about what you want out of this particular job, right?
Yeah.
And if there are like 5 things you want in your career and you're going to get 3 of them from this job, like, great. You're never going to get everything you want in one job.
Yeah.
Right.
You need to be really clear on why you're doing it and what you're getting, whether that's money or the ability to work for a particular person that you want to learn from, or there's a particular project or subject matter they're known for that you really want to develop in your portfolio. And I think you need to be pretty ruthless about that. Like, am I getting what I want out of this job? Because companies treat employees like that for the most part, right? Like, is this person utilized? Is this person performing? And if not, not. So I encourage people I've mentored to be very particular about what they're getting. And like, when you do your annual review process, or if you update your portfolio every 6 months, which is a good habit, but I don't do it either, so.
Yeah.
I've said in my portfolio in a long time, but I think you need to check in with yourself. Am I still getting what I need out of this, or has what I need changed? Right. Like, I have a lot of friends who then had children and they're reconsidering sort of their priorities and where work and income fits into all of that. So kind of regularly check in with yourself and your career to really objectively look at what you're getting out of the job or not. And Jared, something you said reminds me of a conversation I had. I mean, this is like over a decade ago. One of my best designers at AKQA resigned because he was moving back to LA, and we didn't have an office in LA at the time. And he accepted a job that he was really unhappy in. And about 6 months later, he was in New York visiting, and we had lunch. And I was shocked because he was like one of the best designers in my team, and they were kind of letting him just like collect dust in the corner and his value. He was working for a traditional advertising agency that was trying to do digital, and he's a product designer, and they just didn't understand.
Spoke different languages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, he was like, well, I'm thinking of staying for a year, so it's at least a year on my resume. And I was like, yeah, but you're a designer. You're judged on your portfolio, not on the length of tenure. And I said, in 6 months, you literally have nothing in your portfolio. What are you going to get in 6 more months?
Yeah.
And he was like, probably more nothing. And I was like, so cut bait now. And sure enough, in 2 months he was in another job. He loved it. And he stayed there for years. So I also think that what the way people in creative industries, or in the creative, the maker roles of creative industries, whether it's film, design, traditional graphic design, digital design, you're really judged by your portfolio and in some ways, your last 3 projects.
Yeah. Most ways. Yeah.
Are there ways that people can kind of during the interview process, do you think there's ways that people can kind of sniff that stuff out? And this could also be a broader question too, in terms of you having your own company and you're kind of sniffing out what clients might be good fits versus not. are there things that people might want to look for in a new job? And that could be, are they going to have something great for their portfolio when they come out? It could be as specific as that, but just in general, like just for them to know that respected, right? I feel like when I talk to designers, and Jared and Erica, I'm sure you guys hear the same thing, and Mehera too in your interviews, is that I feel like the number one need that designers have, like when I'm asking them like, what kind of company, what do you know, what's important to you? They're like, I need design to have a seat at the table. Right? Like design has to be respected. We can't be an afterthought. We're not just coloring in boxes and making them look pretty. Like we really want to be at the, you know, at the strategy level, the company level.
Yeah.
So yeah, any sort of thoughts on that?
I mean, so many. It's like, where do we want to take this?
Whatever you want.
Like, I can tell you, and like, look, I've been doing this for 25 years, right? So, so it's a little bit different than if you've only been a designer for like 2 years, especially in the market we're in now. But at this point, for me, like, it's more important who I work with than the name of the company I work at, the name of the client I work with. It's like, it's all about the people, and then it's all about the assignment. Argo was not very well known in New York at the time I joined, because Mark is based in Austin. But anybody who knows design well, like, knew who Mark was at Frog. And just when I had the opportunity to work for him, it was like a no-brainer. You know, just, it was like, money didn't matter. Yes, of course it mattered. I need to, like, you know, pay my bills. I live in a very expensive city, but I didn't, you know, I could have made like double or more if I'd gone to like a really big agency. And that's not what it was about. It was about getting the mentorship from somebody whose career I long admired, and, you know, wanted to get to know better. So, so much of it, I think, is about finding the environment where you think you're going to thrive. I've often, again, told designers I mentor, you know, like, there are pros and cons of being in like a really big company versus a small one. Like, when you're in a small company, or like a startup in particular, not just small, but also like frenetic, a lot of but you can, if you can tolerate that kind of chaos and environment, which some people thrive in, like I'm one of them, I thrive in a little bit of chaos. Other people absolutely don't. That can be an opportunity to be a jack of all trades, wear a lot of different hats, do a lot of different things, which can be very good early in your career if, like, you're not sure what you want to do. Because there are also so many positions in creative companies or design firms that aren't designer, that are equally important to the functioning of that business as well. So there are lots of different ways to work in design. You don't just have to be a designer. But I think, you know, on the flip side, you can lose some of the rigor if you work in a place that's really small and really scrappy. And so I know some people who've specifically gone into like a big corporate environment just to have the experience. They aren't sure if they are going to like it or not, but they won't know unless they try it. And so I have a friend who actually left Argo to go in-house for the first time, like a really big financial services company. And, you know, just, it's a different pace, it's a different experience, but that was like the perfect thing for the stage of her career. And it also happened to map nicely to the fact that she's got 2 young kids, and it was like a lifestyle fit and a career stage fit. And if she doesn't like it, she'll probably leave, you know? So it's just, it's so I think what I'm looking for, is this a fit for my stage of career and what matters to me? And that might be money. It might be health insurance. It might be mentorship. It could be anything.
Yeah.
We have a dog.
Imagine.
Midnight's in there. Wholeheartedly. Yeah.
I imagine that's maybe similar for you now as you kick off Mission Objective too. You're now vetting clients, and you could have certain clients walk in the door, and you have an ability to know, like, this is going to be more headache or more heartache than worthwhile, and how, you know. I think it's, and that could be individual to you. A different studio could be like, oh yeah, we'll do this. So
for sure. And like, I think in this market, you're crazy to turn down work, right? Like, if you're lucky enough to have a client want to work with you, it's easy to be like, yes, okay, we'll do it. But
very grateful.
But you really do have to evaluate whether or not that organization does respect design or not, and if they're going to be good partners. Because like I've worked on things that most designers would consider like kind of boring, that ended up being like some of my favorite projects, like a gemstone in my portfolio, because we had an awesome team. And then on the flip side, I've worked on things that, on paper, most would consider like a really cool brief. And it was just like absolutely awful. It was a bad experience. Like the clients were really mean and unappreciative. They didn't take any of our advice, and they blamed us when their failure to take our advice didn't lead to the outcomes that they wanted. And it just, and for some of those projects, I've won tons of awards that it was like, I'm like embarrassed to even mention I worked on it. So
you sound like you're describing the recruitment experience too.
I won't say the client name, but years ago, Joanne, you probably don't even remember this, but you were looking at my portfolio once and you gave me some feedback. Oh, why don't you have XYZ in here? Because I see it on your client list and that's such a big name and you won so many awards. And I was like, oh yeah, because for me, it's like associated with really bad memories. Like it was a painful project. I didn't have fun. Like the team, everyone was like miserable. And I don't like to talk about that project. So I didn't put it in my portfolio because I don't want to, like, that energy is going to come out in an interview. Right. So
no, that's smart.
Yeah. So much of it for us is like, we're looking for clients who value design. I think that sounds obvious, but let me explain. Right. If we go back to this sort of technology companies acquiring design firms for the past 15 years, and this is not the case everywhere. I have seen success stories there.
Yeah.
I think actually I worked at Method, and a lot of the folks I worked with at Method years ago are still there. They're happy there. That's been like a more successful acquisition story. And really like hats off to the leadership team there for that. But a lot of times what happens now is in order to land a multi-year, multi-million-dollar tech contract, like design will just be thrown in for free.
Right.
Or like super cheap. And it like treats design like a commodity. And so if you're just like bundling design in for free to get a big tech contract, and the buyer at the client organization does not already really believe in design, you're not really doing anything to reinforce that design is of strategic value and can make or break a product. Like there are plenty of products that are designed by engineers and it shows. And that's like not shade to engineers. I love engineers. Like without engineers, my team's work would not see the light of day. But, most engineers will tell you like, yeah, I designed this. So, like it needs help. And so when you kind of like just throw design in for free to get a tech contract, you're sending a message that it's more about decoration and whether or not something's pretty and not whether or not something is effective. And so some of talking to clients is to try to understand their budget parameter, but it's really a litmus test for if they value design, if they partner well, if they consider design a strategic advantage. And if they don't, I'm not really in the business of selling it. Like it's a waste of time for me to try and convince somebody. Yeah. I just won't do it.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Yeah. And luckily I've been doing this for long enough that we have really good relationships and really loyal clients. Also, like a lot of people I came up with are now in-house and they are buyers of design services. And because I stayed agency side the whole time, it's like they trust me, they trust my taste. And I trust that they are also people who respect the value of design and want to do it well. I think a lot of designers, especially younger ones, who just aren't really in a position to push back, can end up in positions where design is asked to come in and solve a business problem, but they're not really set up for success. And then the designer can't solve the bigger business problem because they're designers, not like business strategists. And then they're blamed for the failure of the design, right? And that's not that kind of organization. We're not going to be successful. And there's just like, I don't want to waste anyone's time or budget or professional reputation, So if it doesn't feel like we are values aligned on the role of design and the role of that project, then, we won't work on it.
Are there any questions, when people are going through the interview process, and this could be questions, either design leaders, like people that have some experience under their belts, but I'm thinking more even for like the mid-level and the senior level designers who maybe don't feel a lot of agency in the recruitment process, right? Where it's kind of like, okay, I'm being judged. I really want this job. Like, how much can I push back? How much can I say about what I want, as opposed to like trying to make myself into a pretzel to be what they want?
Right.
But are there any questions that they can ask where they can take some empowerment, they can have some agency around figuring out, does this company really value design? Am I going to feel valued here?
Yeah. I mean, right now it's particularly tough. You guys would know better than me, but I just hear horror stories of people that are applying for job after job after job. And it's like an AI bot is intercepting their resume and speaking to an AI bot on the recruiter side. And who knows what the AI bots are deciding, but it's
ridiculous.
And I'm sure as recruiters, right, you're probably getting like 800 people for what used to be maybe like 50 people applying. I don't know, but it's particularly kind of messy right now. But if you're lucky enough to get an interview and you're lucky enough to kind of go through that interview process, I mean, I would say this is a little cheeky to ask on like the first date. So I wouldn't recommend kind of maybe you're like at the offer stage, but find out who controls the P&L. Like who does design report to in the organization? Does design, like what P&L does the design team sort of report up into? Because there might be a separate P&L just for design, or it might go into a bigger part of the organization, and who controls the decision making behind that P&L. That will tell you a lot. Now, that's not to say a non-designer owning that is a bad thing, but it'll give you an indication of sort of where the power dynamics are, like where the investment in design is. So Joanne, for the client that we share, they've made tremendous investment in design, and the person that they have leading design does not come from design herself as a maker, but she is a long time digital leader, has an amazing career history. She's also been at that organization for many, many years to have the credibility with the influencers at the leadership level of that organization to establish design. And she has buy-in from the CEO. Mm-hmm. So you take this traditional company in a very conservative category, and you're establishing design, but it's literally being driven by the CEO's agenda. So like, that's a good place for design to be. But that indicates that design has a seat at the table. But you could also say design is new there, right? So you need to factor in, it's going to take time for that culture to build, for them to iron some of the kinks out. But if you really look at the history of where design sits in an organization, the investment in design, like if they're investing or not, a lot is driven by P&L. And like one of the things that I think made Argo very, very successful is, Mark was the chief creative, but Mark was there for the CEO. We didn't have like a separate CEO. And so he was in charge of the P&L. It was a design firm run by designers with very strong finance and operational people to make sure that like
they didn't just blow it all.
That like things didn't just completely collapse.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud to say we have a very strong operational and finance team at Mission Objective as well. Just to nobody entirely trust me with the spreadsheet, but I do have P&L decision making control, right? And so I can choose to say, yes, that project would be more lucrative, but this one is better for our portfolio. And we can't do both right now at the level of quality, because we're like, again, we're not trying to do as much business as possible. We're trying to do a healthy amount of business at a certain quality level and at a certain price point. So I think just asking questions around who is making decisions for design, where investment in design sits, like who you'll report to,
And then probably who they report to and who they report to. Right? So but ultimately goes up into product, which it often does, like product management. That seems to be pretty par for the course. I'll just say from my dealings and working with companies, startups or bigger, if design rolls up into technology, I feel like that can be a little flag of like, there needs to be more detail to figure out if that's a bad thing or not. But oftentimes I think that can be a little tricky. If technology is kind of overseeing all of design, but are there kind of red flags, green flags that you see as far as like who should they ultimately report into that is a good signal?
Yeah, I mean, if design reports to a chief design officer and sits next to product, that's great. If it reports up into product, but that product leader has a good history of design, like they've worked at the right places, they've established a good design culture, then, I think it's fine if it rolls up to product. Just so much of it, I think, depends on the culture of the organization, where design sits, how are designers assigned to projects, resourced, what drives timelines. These are all factors in kind of assessing the role of design.
Nice. Now you said the word culture, so I want to switch gears a little bit. And by the way, everybody who's watching, this is an interactive session. So if you want to put your questions in the chat, and we'll field them live to Mehera in real time. So this can be a multi-conversational situation going on. So please don't be shy. Send your questions in. But I think we had spoken a little bit in our huddle the other day about, establishing culture in a company, which you did. I mean, it sounds like you've done that throughout your career. Most notably at Argo, you set up the entire New York studio. That's like setting up all the logistics and the culture at the same time. Now you're setting up culture within your own company.
Yeah.
What are the main things, like the main pillars of setting up culture, and how do you actually approach that? That's a very broad question, so you can take that however you want. But
I mean, and to give proper credit, when I joined Argo, my colleague Megan was hired. She's the only person that I didn't interview. We were hired separately and then introduced to one another, and then we became thick as thieves. So it was like nice. we were matched perfectly. But she really held down all the logistical operational pieces. She oversaw the entire gut renovation of our studio.
Oh, cool. That was Megan Mann?
Yeah, to get to you. Sorry?
Megan Mann?
Megan Ford, actually.
Oh, Megan Ford. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
She's my badass sister in crime.
Nice.
And then, of course, other fantastic leaders came later. Jim Casey's still there. He's amazing. So a lot of great operational and project management staff are there. It wasn't all me. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I showed up, and I'm a bit of a startup junkie. So even when I joined AKQA and my colleague Damo is joined the live stream, we were part of setting up the New York studio for AKQA. And I've done that, in a number of places. When you think about culture, it's it's sort of similar to branding. It's what is the ethos? What's the integrity? What's the vibe of the studio you're trying to build, and then how do you bring that to life through your procedures, your processes, that the people you hire and what you rally behind. And I've been a designer pretty much my whole career. Before that, I spent a year in advertising as an account manager, where everyone was like, "You're in the wrong job, kid." So I haven't experienced a very different type of career in a corporate environment, or just a non-creative career. But I can tell you that what I've seen work really well in a culture of creativity is strong collaboration. And strong collaboration is based on mutual respect, just straight up. From the CEO to the intern, everybody needs to be respected. Everybody should have a voice. It doesn't mean everyone's the decision maker. If anything, Mark used to criticize me that I was maybe too diplomatic, but I said, but there are things that we can just take a vote on, because it doesn't really matter. When we got renovating the studio, Megan would call meetings and say, "Okay, guys, we have a couple of design decisions to make, and what color do we want the countertops to be in the kitchen?" And we just voted on it. And in the end, like 2 of us wanted black countertops, everyone else wanted white, and so we went with gray because it was like literally.
Fair enough.
The way to make it work, Tim Gunn style.
Yeah,
I like that.
Exactly. Right. But that was a place where I felt, let's just take a poll, let's vote, because it doesn't really matter what color the countertops are. And I wanted that founding team to feel ownership of our space. This was in 2019, so we did not know the pandemic was coming, right? So we thought we were going to be in the space, and like, who cares? It's a countertop. There are other things that, of course, I wouldn't have put up for a vote, but I do ask for feedback from the team. Like, everybody has blind spots. Everybody has like biases, right? And so I think when you create a culture of everyone feels free to share their thoughts, but they ultimately know that once the decision is taken, we're all going to get behind that decision. I think people feel a lot more empowered to suggest, like a new tool or a new experiment, or they feel safer taking risks like with the work as well, because they know they're in like a respectful culture. That then allows you to establish like a crit culture, crit as in critique, which is imperative for any kind of creative endeavor. The role of crit is to we pin up the work virtually now. We used to literally physically do it with pin boards. And you step back and the work it's like what's working, what's not working, what's missing with this, like in the artwork that we're producing. And you could just apply this to a music performance, like film production, writing a piece of journalism, right? It's any kind of creative pursuit. And when you do crit poorly, crit is about criticizing the person, and it becomes very scary, and it can be very fear-based. That is not healthy crit. Healthy crit is, this is about the work. This is not about the person, the maker of it. It's about if the work is achieving the brief, because we also might all love something or think something's beautiful, but if it doesn't like answer the brief, it doesn't matter. And so it's a way to be really analytical with the work, to talk about the work, not the person who made it. And in the spirit of making it better, in the spirit of crit can also be a place where you're like, guys, I'm stuck. I need a brain buddy. I need my people to help generate ideas. Like, crit can actually be a really wonderful environment if you build that kind of trust. But again, it goes back to respect and collaboration and good communication to then breed that culture of criticism. And then the last sort of, I think, piece of culture, at least in design firms, is maker culture. So I find that that's actually quite opposite from a lot of the big corporate clients we work with, or really all of the clients we work with, unless they are also in a creative field, because so much of how non-creative organizations function is they're very analytical. They gather a lot of data, they synthesize data, they're looking at quantitative numbers, they're looking at sort of trend reports. What designers do is like they make things, and in the process of visualizing something, then you realize what's not working, you move on quickly, you test ideas. That process of iteration comes through the craftsmanship of making something, and feeling safe enough to make something sloppy, messy, ugly, weird the first time around, because you're going to go to crit and feel supported and get feedback and ideas for how to make it better. So all of those pieces kind of form the bedrock of a safe and vibrant creative culture.
Love that.
How do you bring that to life, right? Is then the next question. I'll just give you one example, because I feel like this answer's gotten very long-winded. But like, I worked at a lot of companies that did not handle resignations elegantly. And I always thought like that was mean. I remember seeing one colleague who resigned, and our boss basically was like, then get the F out today. Now, there's more context to it, which is like, we were in the middle of like applying for a visa for that guy to transfer to another country. So like, I can understand why our boss was like, WTF. But I still don't think that was the way to have handled it, because everybody who was left behind was like, could that happen to me? Like it just
Yeah.
it was so
the disappearing of somebody almost like.
Yeah. And so that's just one extreme example, but I have seen a lot of examples, less extreme, less negative, of just kind of like, well, if you don't work here anymore, like you're out. And I just think like, that's so stupid. Like it's a job, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's like, this is, you know, this isn't personal. And there are better and less, there are better and less better ways to leave a position, especially if you're senior. But, you know, again, it shouldn't be personal. And so like one of the rules that we had before and we'll maintain at Mission Objective is like, you celebrate people on the way out, you know, like you celebrate people on the way out. A lot of the people I've worked with in the past, like I said, they're in-house, they're buyers now, like they could become my clients. They could hire me one day. You know, it's kind of part of your design network. And so just being really respectful to people when they leave the organization, making them part of the kind of alum community of that company. That's a very specific decision that I made at Argo, and that I'll we'll also be implementing at Mission Objective. But like, that's a choice. And that's a choice that goes back to a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. Right. Yeah. So it's like the value of collaboration and mutual respect that then begets one tangible outcome of that is celebrating people on the way out.
Yeah. And I think at the bottom line, it's like just the humanity of people, right? Like the humanity of that situation. I was watching some reel. I just get caught up in reels. I'll just be spending hours on reels every day, not every day. But one of them was talking about like in the olden days when people would pass away, like somebody would die in the community. And then everybody would just gather in the town square and talk about memories of that person or how that person affected them. And it was just this beautiful sense of closure, but also this opportunity for the town to come together and to remember together. And it bonded everybody together in this memory of the person, but also just in their shared humanity, just being in the same town and sharing this experience. And so, you know, obviously the stakes aren't quite as high when somebody leaves the company, but it's kind of the same vibe, right? Where it's like, let's come together as a group of people. Like, that's how I think we're actually built as humans. Yeah. It's like, let's come together, let's appreciate this. And then not burn the bridge, to your point, right? Like have them be a part of the alum community that can only help
message. Yeah, like it sends a message to everybody else. If and when you decide you want to go, you will also be treated with respect. Now, I will say, like I have had to fire people before, and we were not like clapping them on the way out. It was like, I'm really sorry, you're going to have to get your things and we'll escort you to the elevator. Like that does happen sometimes, and it's. I feel like a failure as a leader if I have to fire somebody I hired. But again, we're talking like normal circumstances. Somebody resigns, and again, this is just one tiny example that I'm picking on, right? But you bring culture to life through 1,000 little decisions of like your policies, how you onboard people, how you welcome them, how you celebrate work anniversaries, if you celebrate work anniversaries, etc. But with this resignation one, I wanted to send a message that like we treat people with mutual respect, even when they're breaking up with us. We can stay friends. You too will be treated that way when you resign, because I didn't want anyone working in my team because like they couldn't hack it somewhere else. It's like the people who worked in our team, we had very low attrition. The lowest attrition of any design firm I worked in. I'm very proud of that. Some of that might have also been like the job market, you know, like not to overclaim the credit. Some of it was also maybe a wonky market, but I've always wanted people to be in the team because they love the culture. They love the work that we're doing, and not because, you know, they think they can't get a better job. If you think you can get a better job, like great, go. You know, the first designer I hired at Argo, he works at Spotify now. And and anyone who knows him knows that that's like the perfect job for him. Like he's super into music and dancing, and it's very much like it's a perfect fit. And so I remember when he came to me and he resigned, he was like, I hate to do this because I've had such an amazing experience here, but I got an offer from Spotify. And I was just like, oh, like, that's perfect for you. I'm so excited. And you know, like, he's still in touch. He's doing great. Like, why would I be upset for him?
Yeah.
I just really, totally.
It's a good attitude.
Yeah.
They're good.
That's some great. Go on, Erica.
No, just to say, it's clear that you built like a really trusting environment for people to be able to share all of that.
If you need it if you're trying to do innovation, because innovation is
Right.
about coming up with something new. The designer's superpower, any creative person's superpower is imagining something that does not yet exist and then giving it form. And you can't do that if you're afraid of, like, all the bad ideas come out first.
Yeah.
Right. If you're too embarrassed in a brainstorm to say the dumb thing that might give somebody else a good idea for something that then everyone else builds on. Like if you're afraid of that, then you kind of self-censor, and then you just, you end up with maybe like the first bad idea that comes out.
Yeah. We've just been so entrenched in our conversation with you, Mehera. We're getting such great stuff. We have 4 minutes left. Jared, were you going to go to the questions? Do you want to maybe?
Yeah, you pick one. I'll bring it up. If there's any that stand out, you start reading it. I'll pop it up.
I thought this one was kind of cool. This is from LinkedIn user. I'm not sure who this person is, but I like the question. As you scale, what are you being especially intentional about preserving or evolving as a majority woman-owned company?
I mean, we didn't intend to set up a women-owned company. We just happen to be women. But but it's rare, and we're very proud of that factor. I just don't necessarily, it wasn't like the goal. But as we scale, we're being mindful of really curating our portfolio, curating our client list. Like we don't take on projects that we don't think that we can do with excellence. I won't just leave a client high and dry. I'll say, you know what? I don't think we're the best people for that job. Let me introduce you to somebody that I think is better. That's what we try to do. But so we're really mindful of curating our portfolio. And we're really mindful of ensuring that the people we work with are very values aligned to that culture. So you can be brilliant, you can have an amazing portfolio, but if you don't know how to collaborate effectively, if you can't receive critique or offer critique in a professional and respectful way, I don't care.
Word. I like what James Dunkley said. What if is a powerful phrase in a critique. Cool.
Yes, absolutely. Good one, James.
Yeah. Jared, you want to take one?
This is the next one down real quick. My last design role was similar to Mehera's example, being stagnant, a large company. How can I stand out to companies that have more productive design roles given my recent weaker work? Side projects, push back, stories of trying to make the weaker better. You might be confined to your company's design system, whatever it might be. But if you don't have any stories of at least trying or pushing back or having small breakthroughs, small wins, if you have no side projects that you can show off just how great you are, it's very hard for anyone to know how good you are. That's my quick advice on that. So it's in your hands to put some more together and show someone more of what you can do.
I also look at the design of the resume and the portfolio itself.
100%.
There's a lot I learn about how people lay out the resume.
Yep, definitely.
Spacing,
typography, kerning, white space.
Yep.
I have a thought on that. I have one thought on that. So now people can't really apply with their pre-designed resume, right? They have to use the ATS. But I've actually been telling people to upload their nicer resume into the cover letter space instead of a cover letter, since somebody's reading the cover letters, but it's still like anciently there. Do you think that's weird? Or I don't know, because I think people get really, concerned about people not seeing that sort of portfolio piece, I guess.
That designed resume. I mean, you can still design a resume in a Word doc with Times New Roman. You could still show me that you're actually have a clue about design, just being limited.
A lot of designers will have like a PDF resume that you can download from their portfolio site. But Erica, to your point, I haven't applied for a job in a long time, so
ATS.
I defer to you on that one. You'd know better than me.
Yeah. Well, we're at time.
That flew by.
Oh my gosh, that totally flew by. Mehera, it was awesome to have you with us on
Yeah.
Design Unfiltered.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming and
My
sharing. all
pleasure.
your-
This was really fun, guys.
Right
And
on.
appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk about, my new baby, Mission Objective. We're excited.
Love it. We have
Well,
a
best of luck
few
with
extra.
it. Oh, sorry, what, Jared?
We have a few extra questions in there, so we'll try and jump in the comments and answer some as well. After this post. But yeah, if you see something that you want to comment on too, like talk amongst yourselves as well. You're all like-minded people on here.
Yeah.
Word.
Thanks to everyone for joining today. Really appreciate the support.
Yes.
Great
yes,
conversation.
Yes.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.